Hi everyone, it's Dr. Kumari Valentine here, clinical psychologist. Welcome to my show and best wishes of the holiday season to you and those who you might be celebrating with, if you're celebrating with somebody. And I hope that it has been a restful season for you. This is a often difficult time of year when there is just so much happening. There is so much on. There are expectations, family dynamics or relational dynamics come to a fore, and many people struggle. So I hope that some of the prior episodes that I have available, some of my shorter ones which offer just a minute of grounding, might be useful. And what I thought I'd like to talk about today with thinking about where many people are at is thinking about the year to come and your goals and priorities. Now, by the way, you might have had a really lovely holiday season, and that's fantastic too. Okay. And with a good experience, you might also be thinking about the year ahead, because this time of year, the space between years, is often a good time to start thinking about our kind of goals and ideas. Okay. So as we end the year that is, it's often a time for reflecting on what's happened, where we've been, a time for thinking about renewing ourselves and perhaps setting goals. And the problem is that these goals can be very short-lived. These goals might not necessarily reflect things that are important to us. But having said that, the new year brings an opportunity for growth and transformation. And I'd like to steer you away from focusing on kind of traditional resolutions, and instead consider setting goals that might align with your values. So why is this so important? In clinical psychology, we see that your values are quite an important resource. They can act as a compass to guide your decisions. We say that your values matter and are of fundamental importance, and that what we're after is value-filled living, rather than necessarily going for positive feelings or doing behaviors simply because we feel we must do them or we should do them. We find that positive emotions, better feeling states, or more functional feeling states, are associated with a clearer connection to values and living life that is influenced by values. So when people come and see me and say that they want to feel better, I will often ask, what would that look like? What would you be doing? And doing is a stepping stone to be talking about these values, okay? When we connect our goals, our behaviors to our values, we are thus able to make a more meaningful and sustainable path to self-development. So to think about values, I'm just finding my wee notes here. Finding our values can be tricky, and one of the ways we might identify these are thinking about moments in our life when we felt content, fulfilled, proud, satisfied. And in those moments, what were the values that might have been present? What was important to you? And reflecting about these can give us clues to our underlying values. Number 2 is clarifying what actually matters to us. What principles or qualities do you want to be remembered for? An exercise we can do, this is one inspired by acceptance and commitment therapy, is to think about what you would like to be known for. So when you pass away, what would you like people to say about you? These values can cover a range of different areas. They can be about your relationships, personal growth, qualities about you such as authenticity or integrity, your sense of compassion, perhaps a sense of adventure or community. 3, to look at what values you have, you might look at a values list. And I have found a really good one online by Russ Harris, R-U-S-S Harris, who is an author of multiple books in acceptance commitment therapy. And Russ says in this PDF you can find online, it is titled A Quick Look at Values. He says, values are your heart's deepest desires for how you want to behave as a human being. Values are not about what you want to get or achieve. They're about how you want to behave or act on an ongoing basis, how you want to treat yourself, others, and the world around you. So here are some values that Russ has on this list. Acceptance, which is about being open and accepting of yourself, others, life. Authenticity, beauty, cooperation, courage, curiosity, excitement, generosity, honesty, humor, humility, kindness, love, mindfulness. And mindfulness is about being conscious of, open to, curious about your here and now experiences. And I would say in a non-judgmental fashion. Order, to be orderly and organized. Self-aware, self-care, supportive, trustworthiness, self-control, sensuality, and so on. So there are various lists, and using these might inspire you towards looking at those aspects that are important to you. These words and ideas that are something of a lighthouse when you need to have something that directs you. Sometimes it can be difficult choosing between behaviors guided by two or more values that are both important, but knowing what the values are and why you might be going one way or another can be useful. Okay, so looking at a values list can be important to clarifying those values. You can also prioritize those values. So we talked about how you might have two values competing. It can also be useful to prioritize them, and the priority might vary depending on different contexts. This prioritization can guide you when making goals or setting targets for yourself. In order to identify your goals, point number 5, you might also look to people who you admire, your role models. What qualities or values do they seem to live with? What do you find aspiring about them? Looking at who you admire can give you insights about your own values and priorities. 6, check for consistency. So check that these identified values, and remember that these are ideals that we're moving towards, are consistent with the person you aspire to be. Values that align with your authentic self are much more likely to give you that meaningfulness, that sense of fulfillment as well as satisfaction when you pursue them. Bear in mind as well that values evolve over time. So reassessing and updating your values periodically is important to ensure that they are really reflective of what you currently believe and aspire. Okay? We are constantly in that state of looking towards our ideal self. I like to think of our ideal self, not our should self, but rather our future self, kindly reaching back towards us, extending a hand, if you will, and trying to make a connection with us, building a bridge from where we are now to where we want to be. And I find that helps to think about what you would like to be doing. I often ask myself, when looking at a really big list, I ask myself, what would I feel satisfied with knowing that I had done at the end of the day? By the way, not all of that is possible, but thinking about the end of the year, I think a useful question is, at the end of next year, or at the end of 6 months, whatever time frame feels useful, what will give you satisfaction knowing that you have accomplished or moved towards, and what values are inherent in that? So once you have that clear sense of values, and bearing in mind that these aren't just resolutions, okay? They are a compass. Then you might look at these values-based goals and look at goals that relate. For example, if a value for you is self-care, then what is an area that meaningfully follows? For example, does self-care, when you think of it and you think of your life, does self-care mean better eating or decluttering your wardrobe? Or does it mean exercise? Does it mean having clearer boundaries? And then you might look at very specific instances of those. And as you probably know, setting SMART goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, realistic. Achievable and realistic sound the same. So maybe I'm getting my A and R tied up. And T, time limited, is really important. Okay, so as you can even hear in this recording, I think that the clarifying of the why and having a direction in which you're going in is the most important thing, because the exact thing you focus on might change. It might be that you start by looking at what you eat, but as you start doing that, something else might become clearer still. However, this is still in the pursuit of nutrition, and it is still in the pursuit of self-care. That is the more fundamental thing. Because I think that it's very easy to become disheartened, and I think this is where we see people have New Year's resolutions that they quickly abandon. Those kind of resolutions aren't meaningfully anchored in what is fundamentally important, or what is worth striving for, what is worth being uncomfortable with, what is worth sitting with difficult emotions about. Oh, and on that note about difficult emotions, you might know that when you sign up to my very infrequent newsletter, that there is a list of that I teach you 5 strategies that I routinely teach to reset and soothe the nervous system. And I think that all activities benefit from coming from a place of a more settled nervous system, that we can get into thinking about goals and transformation and things we should be doing. And that can really activate our nervous system and have us looking at things from a state of self-criticism or fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, people pleasing. So taking a moment to really kind of anchor within ourselves, feeling safer within ourselves, actually sets us up to be thinking about these things in a different way, including being able to connect more with values, one part of ourselves that can help guide us to more authentic and useful, functionally useful changes. Okay, so I feel like there is a lot in that, and I could probably slow down and say more about each part. So I think this is episode 51, at least I hope it is. So I have one more for you to make 52 for this year. This is one of my goals. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope that provided some useful nuggets. Let me know what you thought. Take care. Happy New Year. Best wishes. Let me know if you have any questions. Take care and talk soon.